Hi folks, Jeremy Rosignol from Rosie's Rippers here. Thanks for subscribing to the monthly box. Here's your knife for October 21. A Tanto fit for a Halloween villain. First I'm going to start by cleaning off the mill scale rust and any edges, since it's not perfectly square from the water jet. Next I'm going to apply some blue layout dye to the edges that will be ground. I typically measure the thickness of the blade, then go a little smaller than half of that thickness to leave some meat so there are no warps during heat treat. Here she is, all cleaned up, ready to start grinding. But first, let's take my round file and square off the jimping. After that, I'm going to take the holes to the drill press and chamfer or countersink them to allow more glue to pool into the pinholes. Looks good, time for grinding. Alright, now I'm going to take a fresh 36 grit belt and I'm going to take it down to the scribe lines I made earlier. Many people are scared of hollow grinds, but if you take it slow and adjust your angles as you go, if you're using a jig, you should have no problem seating the wheel into the grind and getting a nice, crisp, straight grind line. I like using a jig, but many people rock the hollows freehand. I'm just not that good yet. Yep, I need a little adjustment there. And I think I'm going to need another adjustment later on. Remember to try to keep your steel cool during pre-heat treat grinding as well as after grinding so you don't mess up that heat treat or aggressively grind too much. All right, here's the first side ground. Edge goes right up to the scribe line and the bevel is quite straight. So let's go ahead and move on to the next side. Remember to measure twice, cut once. And you can see there's that meat left over there. Preheat treat. Here it is on the jig. Remember to measure carefully, make sure it's clamped down tight. You should have no problem getting that beautiful hollow grind there. All right, so both bevels are in along with the swedge, and boom, it's back up from heat treat and getting cleaned up. So let's go ahead and give it a good soak in some acid for a nice acid washed finish. Remember to wash it very well before you drop it in the acid. Make sure all those oils are gone. Now while that's etching, I'm going to start working on the handles. I'm going for a dark, bloody, segmented handle. The resin's going to be on top with bog oak on the bottom and some nice G10 accents splitting them too. Now that I have the tops, let's rough them up and square them up. This is just rough for now. I'll square it up by hand on some 80 grit paper and a surface plate before I glue it up. Once that's done, I'm going to move on to the G10 spacers. Same thing, I'm just going to rough it up on the grinder to get rid of all the shininess, or most of it. And I'm just roughing it up on the grinder, and I'm going to do it by hand later on some 80 grit paper. All right, here's the set just before glue up, as well as right after. Nice, flat, and square. Everything looks good. Everything should line up quite well. Nice and book matched. So here's the front butt getting polished up. I want to polish this up before I glue it to the knife, because you're not going to be able to touch that unless you ruin your knife finish, and we don't want that. Here's a quick look at my glue station. Everything's ready to go, get glued up, all put together. Used a lot of glue to fill up that space because I want it to be really strong. And boom, here it is, glued up, roughed out, behind the scenes, and I love that blood brain resin from Chaotic Artworks. All right, I'm gonna take this up to 400 grit and then soak it in some oil. After wiping off the oil at 400 grit, I'm gonna check for scratches. I'm gonna take it up to 2,000 or 3,000 grit before polishing it with some no scratch pink compound. It'll get a really nice shine, as well as protect the wood from any kind of environmental issues, stuff like that. Still recommend keeping it dry because this is a high carbon steel knife. And here's the final product, ready for its home. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your Halloween villain.